After the break, we will go to the parallel learning events. But first, we've asked the Minister of Environment in Brazil to talk today because we want agriculture to take the word sustainable seriously. We've asked her to spell out the challenges she sees for agriculture in this landscape approach. We would then like the learning events to take up these challenges and give us examples of how we will achieve sustainable food systems. So the Minister of the Environment. You have an audience here of 500 people. In the virtual world, another 250 people are logged on, watching today on the webcast. Okay. Over to you. It gives me very great pleasure to invite Minister Izabella Vieira Teixeira, Minister of the Environment of Brazil, to the podium. Please.
Bom dia a todos e todas.
Good morning, everybody. Desculpe por ter falado em português. É uma oportunidade.
Okay. So, gostaria inicialmente
I would like firstly to thank Rachel. Where's Rachel? Where's Rachel Kite? Cadê ela? Ela saiu, então. Ela foi embora.
Não. Bom, gostaria de
Então, eu gostaria de agradecer a Rachel Kite,
Roberto Rodrigues,
my dear friend Roberto Rodrigues, and the other parliamentary representatives present, the president of Embrapa, and say, to talk about my satisfaction, my pleasure to be here at this special time. That's better. At such a special time for Brazil, for the world, because this discussion about agriculture in the context of sustainability, the new paths to be taken, the sustainable development in the world. One of the things that I most like about this agenda, it's a concrete agenda. We speak in Portuguese, it's pragmatic. It's an agenda which has clear objectives in terms of sustainability, to produce ever more food sustainably, based on the conception of food security. We Brazilians, we know this, and we know about our responsibility in relation to agriculture, competitive, sustainable, inclusive agriculture, and which has a global role. And this agriculture isn't simply linked to the question of sustainability of the production of food, but also the issue of an agenda which is very important on the table, the agenda of fuels, renewable fuels, biofuels. And I think this is a challenge, huge challenge that we have on the agenda of sustainability. We've used the expression of environmental pragmatism from the point of view of a strategic point of view in relation to bring together food production, the sustainable use of natural resources, technological innovation, competitiveness, and an agenda of renewable fuels. This is possible to do in Brazil, and it's possible to do in other countries as well. We don't need to destroy the environment in order to produce more food, because there's a permanent relationship between agriculture and environment and agriculture, and it's blind to insist on any other vision. We're trying to seek in Brazil a new political relation to how this question of sustainability, climate change, which is an important subject which I'm going to talk about later, and the issue of sustainability, how they can be talked about jointly in terms of the same political context. This is wholly essential, that we can build points, dialogue points. These matters can't be talked about separately. it's unacceptable that we talk about these subjects in isolation. And Brazil, in recent years, has experienced many questions with three major challenges. I'm not going to talk about agriculture, so I'm going to talk about... It's important to talk about three things that are on the table. Firstly, the question of the isolation of sugarcane, biofuels, and I have the honour to have arrived here using a car run on biofuels. This is a path, a solid path. And we do this with transparency, with the participation of everyone in Brazil, and we can expand the production of biofuels based on ethanol without compromising the production of food. This affirmation is false, and it's wrong to use the question of alcohol in this question. Can you understand? Por favor. Por favor. Thanks. Please do. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Absolutely. It's very important to highlight this because there are innovative mechanisms for environmental planning and the use of land which are being adopted in Brazil in order to clarify this with great objectivity. Who doesn't want to take on the cause of biofuels? Use false ideas that we're replacing food-producing areas for fuel-producing areas, or forests for fuel-producing areas. We say that Brazil is almost... that we do not plant sugarcane in Amazon. This is a fallacy, because the environment doesn't allow it. And we don't want to do this. So there are some errors that are being used in the vision of that we have a short-term perspective that we need to take out of the agenda, because we're talking about food production in a sustainable manner and a huge effort to increase our role in energy production and our participation in the production of biofuels. This is a challenge which has to be made with the basis of social questions. Economic growth has to be permanent, there has to be competitivity of costs, and we have to make the most of natural resources in this. This marriage is indissociable. We have to seek innovative ways. The other aspect that I'd like to talk about has to do with the climatic question, which is another question. Our response isn't limited to the reduction of emissions. We are the country which took a step forward and have made a huge effort to mobilize everybody in relation to the carbon footstep in order to make a difference. It is possible to do this. We have done a first testing phase, with Embrapa is in a second testing phase, and in the combat of deforestation, we're not just monitoring what is avoided, we are monitoring what is being replanted, restored. Brazilian Amazon is a project with the partnership of the Environmental Ministry and the Secretary of Technology. This partnership shows that we have real recuperation happening in Amazonia. And the third comment that I want to make is about the forestry code. If we are ambitious in terms of the results of the forest code to restore areas that were deforested without need unnecessarily, we will be capable of capturing more carbon, and the scientific calculations are being made at the moment. So it's possible to be competitive on another scale, on a local scale and a global scale. And for this to happen, we need to use an extremely powerful tool, which is one of our policies and forms part of the forestry code. CAR has already regulated 70 million hectares in Brazil of productive lands. 60 million hectares in Brazilian Amazon have been registered, but together this is an area of land Spain added to Portugal, But the government is not interested in having producers who are outside the law. We want them within the law and producing in a sustainable environmental way. This is an effort. We need to restore, protect rivers, recognize that the country is the only country that in private property has private areas in conservation areas and privately owned areas. I don't know of any other countries that can give such a huge area of privately owned land to preservation. And this happens in Brazil. Brazil manages to be competitive, not just seeing a reserve as sources of resources. This has to be recognized in international laws. It's easy to say that we are encouraging deforestation. It's not true. And I don't see any other country making the effort Brazil is making today in order to protect forests and advance in agriculture. This has to be said internationally. And I'm going to call this blindness. If you don't see what is happening, there are African countries which have less than 3% of the original forest cover. And there's a huge demand for the occupation of degraded areas in this country. So it's time to deal with the question of sustainability in another way. Our expectations are very ambitious in a country that has a long-term and a medium-term vision. This is a conference based on concrete action for permanent sustainability. We're going to talk about funding, we're going to talk about competitiveness, and we're going to reflect on what we have achieved in terms of international commerce. This has to be more transparent. The discussion of the subsidies has to happen in a different way. Not just subsidies, but not subsidies in terms of biofuels, but also in terms of food products. This is a perverse approach to international economy. We need to talk about the protection of food production in the world. And the real world of many of you is the world of competitivity to produce food and produce in a sustainable manner. In Brazil, we have a vision which is wholly strategic in relation to Rio Plus 20 as the host country. We are building a consensus. This is our role. We have to take on board all the visions and bring them together in one vision, which is the vision to move forward with food security. There's a transition, there's a social cost, and this has to be debated in different countries. There are countries which still subsidize energy so that poor people can have access to it. This debate isn't easy. This debate requires a more ambitious vision, more generous vision. I have the conviction that the negotiations that we're doing today, and which are very positive, I can say that the environment, the atmosphere is it's more positive than many people suggest, because there are small interests that want to gain space in the media. But we have a vision. Our country wants to grow economically, and we want to socially include, and we want to protect the environment. We have more than 90% of Brazilian Amazon, which is covered in original primary forest. Few countries in the world has such a huge amount of land covered by forests. And so I firmly believe that we can be a country that produces food in a sustainable manner, but we can also conserve biodiversity and ecosystem, as we are doing today and as we will continue to do. This is a vision that placed the debates of Rio Plus 20 on objective and pragmatic basis. Environmental policies, scientists are all involved in this debate. Between science and public policy and social policy, without a debate between these different sectors, there will be no advance. our well-being. And this is the path that Brazil is seeking to take, and I'm certain that the negotiations are going to reflect this, because our effort to conciliar all these needs, our diplomacy, we were here in Nagoya, we were there in Nagoya, we were taking an active role, and in 2015, perhaps it will be a year of reflection of the whole agenda of sustainability. Perhaps the year of the peak year of greenhouse gas emissions, and the global annual year of the climate. So, good work. I wish you the best of luck in your works. I'm sorry that I cannot spend more time here. Everyone's nervous that we're here. But I would like to send a warm expression of emotion to you all, so that we can work towards sustainability and agriculture together in our country. This is our ambition, and I'm sure that we'll be able to create a better country and a better world. Thank you, and the best of luck in the debate.